You're watching Satluj TV News. I'm Angus Scott in London. A former army officer in the Indian Army has recently called for his country to hire the US mafia and criminal underworld to murder Sikhs in the United States. Gaurav Arya, a former Indian Army major, runs a popular YouTube account in which he regularly broadcasts extreme Hindu messages to a large following. However, in one of his latest videos, the former military man demanded that the Indian government make contact with the underworld of San Francisco and every city in America. Claiming that money being no object for India, millions should be offered to professional criminals to attack and disable Sikhs, leaving them in wheelchairs. He continued in his angry tirade by demanding his followers should enter the homes of Sikhs, strangle, humiliate and beat them. His video comes in response to a recent fire at the Indian Consulate in San Francisco, which, according to police, was merely smouldering debris on the sidewalk adjacent to the building's front door. However, a powerful misinformation campaign has managed to spread a fake narrative that it was pro-Khalistan Sikhs that had tried to burn down the consulate, despite there being no evidence whatsoever to point to this. In recent times, it has become the tactic of pro-Hindu extremists to label any political opponents as terrorists, supported by a hugely powerful online army responsible for spinning stories into an anti-Sikh narrative and then silencing any potential dissent. While Sikh protests have been widespread at their treatment by the Indian government and as a result promoted a growing pro-Khalistan movement, protests have been loud but peaceful. The international community are now raising concerns at the way the Indian government and Hindu extremists are now reacting. In Western democratic nations, political opponents, however distasteful their views, are largely given fair hearing, and protesters are given free rein to broadcast their message unhindered. When governments are elected, there is a general assumption and expectation that the voices of those minorities are then taken into account in policymaking to ensure the democratic process continues unchallenged. However, India is now being accused from several quarters of claiming to be a democratic nation on the one hand, whilst actually practicing authoritarian rule in the other. Labelling political opponents as terrorists, as is now commonplace, is seriously undermining the Indian government's credibility amongst the West. Former Major Arya, himself currently accused of serious crimes in his native India, is only further damaging Indian interests with his latest call for violence against one of India's minority communities. An act in itself a serious criminal offence, ironically chargeable under anti-terrorism laws in most countries. You've been watching Satluj TV News, and you can find more stories in detail on our channel, that's Satnet News, so it's worth clicking on that subscribe button to make sure you get to see stories as they're broadcast. And don't forget, if you have any comments or opinions on any of our news stories, you can comment below or drop us a direct message at message@satlujtv.com, and we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, thanks for watching. For Satluj TV News, I'm Angus Scott in London.